So today I want to break down what people pleasing actually is, where it comes from, how it can secretly damage your relationship, and most importantly, what to do instead. Stick around because the fix may not be what you think. Let's start with what people pleasing actually is, because I think that gets confused a lot. Being a nice person and being a people pleaser are not the same thing, not at all. A nice person offers, a people pleaser complies. That's the basic difference. When a generous person gives something up for you, they still have access to a no. They can say no. They're making a choice consistent with their values in the moment. A people pleaser doesn't have a no available, or if they do, it feels so dangerous that they struggle to use it. So what looks like generosity is actually something closer to shrinking from the moment, making yourself less than. Here's how you know the difference in your own body. Ask yourself, when I say yes to what my partner wants, do I feel calm or do I feel relief? Calm means you made a choice. Relief, maybe you just escaped something. And if you're constantly escaping the discomfort of having a want, that's not being nice. That's your nervous system doing what it learned to do a long, long time ago. So where does this come from? Because nobody's born a people pleaser. Well, it's learned. And it's almost always adaptive, meaning at some point it actually worked for you. It was an effective way to survive the moment. Most of the time, this traces back to family of origin. Maybe you grew up with a parent whose mood ran the house, and you learned early on that staying agreeable just kept things calm. Maybe love in your house felt conditional, like it was given more often when you were easy, cooperative, low maintenance. Maybe conflict in your home was loud or scary, so you became the peacekeeper, the one who smoothed things over before they got out of control. None of this makes you broken. It makes you someone who adapted to the environment you were in. A kid who learns to read the room and manage it is not malfunctioning, they're surviving. The problem is that survival skill doesn't know when your room has changed. You're an adult now, you're picking your own partner, and your nervous system is still playing by old rules, treating your partner's mood like something you're personally responsible for regulating. And it's not always about a stormy household. Sometimes it's quieter than that. Maybe you learned that love showed up more reliably when you were achieving something, being helpful or being easy to manage. And being difficult, having a strong opinion or taking up space, there was no room for that. Either way, the lesson lands the same. Somewhere back there you learned that your needs were a liability, and being agreeable was the price of admission for staying connected. I'll be honest, I know this one personally, not just professionally. I grew up managing a parent's mood. And even now, doing this work for a living, I still have to catch myself doing that math in my mind before I speak. Not what do I want, but what response is safest to give. Even though I'm now in a relationship that would never demand that from me, old habits die hard. And that reflex doesn't just vanish because you understand where it came from. Understanding is step one, but there's more to do after that. This is part of why real emotional healing isn't just about willpower. You can't just decide to stop. You actually have to go back and recognize what that pattern was protecting you from, so your body can finally learn you don't have to play by those rules anymore. Remember, feelings are faster than thought, and it's even more unbalanced when you're talking about the nervous system. People-pleasing feels like it's protecting the relationship, but it's doing the opposite. First, it creates a partner in your mind who doesn't exist. If you never say what you actually want, your partner isn't in a relationship with you. They're in a relationship with your compliance. And on some level, even if they can't name it, they know something's missing. See, real intimacy requires two people showing up. One person shrinking themselves to keep the peace is not intimacy. It's just a very polite form of loneliness. Second, it quietly builds resentment, and that poisons a relationship over time. Every time you say yes when you meant no, you feel cheated somewhere beneath the surface. You may not even notice it happening in the moment, but it eventually comes out sideways in irritability, withdrawal, a fight about something small that was never really small in the first place. Third, and this one feels counterintuitive at first, people-pleasing often creates an overfunctioning dynamic in the relationship. You're used to managing everyone's emotions, smoothing every edge, and absorbing conflict before it can happen. And your partner, without ever being told, just starts underfunctioning around you naturally because you've made it so easy. That's not a partnership. That's one person quietly carrying two people's emotional load. And overfunctioning in a relationship like that isn't sustainable for either one of them. Because you never show your partner what you actually want or need, they can't get it right even when they're trying. They ask what's wrong, you say, nothing, I'm fine. They ask, are you sure you're okay with this? And you say, yeah, totally. They have no way to close that gap between what you're saying and what you're feeling because you've hidden the target. Then in the future, it comes out as, you never think about my needs. And your partner is left standing there wondering what just happened. From their perspective, they weren't ignoring you. They were trying. You just never let them find you. So the very thing you've been doing to protect that relationship all along has been hollowing it out from the inside. Okay, so how do you actually stop this? Well, let's get practical. Now, people pleasing is not a diagnosis, it's a relational pattern, and you can have an effect on those. Just remember that even though I am a therapist, I'm not your therapist. These are ideas, not medical or psychological advice for a diagnosable condition. And in the end, you have to decide what's right for you and your relationships. Number one, you can recognize that impulse before you act on it. There's almost a tiny window, a half a second or so, right before you default to that yes. Your job isn't to eliminate that impulse, it's to notice it. That's it. Awareness is where it begins. Number two, remember that love is not earned. This might be the most important sentence in this whole video, so let that marinate for a second. Love is not earned. If you believe even quietly that your value in a relationship depends on how agreeable you are, it puts you both in a really difficult position. Number three, practice setting that boundary, even the small one. You don't have to start with a great big conversation. You can start with something small like, actually, I'd rather go get barbecue tonight. That's it. That's a boundary. Boundaries are not walls. They're just an honest signal of where you actually are. Because setting boundaries is a skill. You can learn it, practice it, and get better over time. But just like bowling or playing the piano, if you don't practice it, you're probably not going to improve. Number four, recognize the fear underneath setting a boundary or stating your wants and needs. I know this is easier said than done because it is scary. You finally work up the courage to say the small, honest thing out loud, bracing for the possibility that your partner will get upset. And for most people pleasers, disapproval is not a small thing. It can be devastating. And you may be surprised if your partner's reaction is actually some version of relief. Oh, thank God, I finally know what you actually think. I don't have to be responsible for everything now. In relationships where there's a people pleaser in the mix, resentment rarely comes from authentic directness. In fact, that partner may be exhausted from constantly wondering if they're meeting your needs or not. All while the story in your head is some version of, if I disappoint them, they're going to leave me, or they'll be upset with me and I just can't handle that. But naming the fear limits its power over you. You remember that old 80s movie Gremlins? You remember how you kill a gremlin? You shine a light on it. When you feed and water a gremlin, things go from bad to worse. Unchecked fear turns to shame. But shining a light on those fear and shame gremlins instead of feeding and watering them, that can go a long way. If that feels too big to do on your own, this is exactly the kind of work many therapists help people with. Maybe that's an option that makes sense. You'll have to decide that one for yourself. This whole process is really just recovering the parts of yourself you learned to hide in order to feel safe in the past. That's not selfish. That's self-development in the truest sense. Not becoming a different person, but becoming a more complete one. Look, if you spent years being the low-maintenance one, the one who never causes a problem, I know stopping this can feel terrifying. It can feel like you're risking the very relationship you built by being agreeable. But a connection that only survives your silence was never as solid as you thought it was. Saying what you actually want is far more connective in a strong relationship than shrinking from the moment will ever be. Here's what I want you to sit with this week. Just once, notice that half second before you say yes. Don't even change your answer yet if that feels like too much. Just notice. If it's truly a yes, that's fine. But if it's not, this is important to recognize. That noticing on its own is the beginning of getting yourself back, for you and for the relationship you've been trying all along to protect. Hey friends, thank you for being here today. I'm always grateful for the gift of your time and attention. If this one hits close to home, tell me about it down in the comments. And until next time, be well.